Welcome to Hannity. And tonight, just 48 hours after a landslide victory, the Trump White House is already starting to take shape. Legendary Trump campaign manager Susie Wiles has just been picked as the president's chief of staff. Wiles will make history as the first ever female White House chief of staff. Wait a minute. Mark Cuban said that Donald Trump was afraid of smart, intelligent women, and his campaign manager and first chief of staff is going to be a woman. Anyway, coming up, we're going to bring you exclusive insight into the new incoming Trump administration. But first, I want to commend the Democrats who are using Tuesday's crushing defeat to finally figure out how their own party lost its way. Now, Stephen A. Smith is going to try to do that. He was with the co-hosts of The View, that hard-hitting news show on ABC Disney earlier today. But they weren't particularly interested in his post-game analysis. Parts of it were pretty funny. Take a look.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Yeah. But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that. These
That's less than 1% of the population.
I understand that,
but you know what? Out of error during the NFL.
But see, but I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah,
you're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
Stephen A. Smith will be with us in just a moment. Unfortunately, very few Kamala supporters are like Stephen A. Most on the left simply refuse to think critically about the mistakes in their own party. Instead, they are melting down, they are lashing out, and it's probably going to get worse. Last night, former comedian Jimmy Kimmel threw a hissy fit. He was literally upset. He was weeping during the late-night show that's not funny, while dramatically vilifying anyone that doesn't agree with his politics. Take a look.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for health care, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
It's an amazing transformation. Jimmy Kimmel has gone from blackface and girls jumping on trampolines, cucumbers in his pants and asking strange women to touch it, people he doesn't know, to sobbing about an election that didn't go his way. No wonder nobody watches his show. He's not funny. And by the way, Jimmy, the countdown until your cancellation is on officially right now. In fact, it has been years since Americans laughed with Kimmel, Colbert, or any other late-night host. Instead, most Americans, well, they're just laughing at them in clips they see online or that we make fun of here on Fox. That's because no one is watching these hosts anymore. But it's not just the late-night shows on the big networks. Very few Americans care what anyone in the state-run media mob or Hollywood have to say. Now, think about this. They were all against Donald Trump. Did they win? Now, that means most major newspapers in the country, New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, USA Today, the broadcast networks, fake news networks, fake news CNN, MSDNC, NPR, Beverly Hills, their influence, this is the amazing thing. They all were in unison hating Trump. Their influence is officially done. It's gone. It is dead. Now, on this very program in 2007, I said journalism in America is dead. I had no idea how right I really was. Here we are in 2024, and I can officially declare legacy media, Hollywood influence, celebrity influence in America is dead. Now, think about what they did to Donald Trump before his sweeping victory. By the way, he did win the popular vote, too. They accused him of being a Russian agent, called him an illegitimate president. They spread salacious and untrue Russian disinformation about Trump and hookers and golden showers in a hotel in Moscow. They worshipped at the altar of Robert Mueller like a god and used his witch hunt to smear Donald Trump on their media platforms every single hour of every day for 3 straight years. They cheered on fake impeachments. They pushed one hoax after another. They called Trump, his supporters, Nazis, racists, white supremacists, fascists, sexists, dictators. They compared Trump to Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mussolini. They said he would cause World War III. They blamed him for COVID. They openly fantasized about him going bankrupt from lawsuits and throwing him in jail, by the weaponized DOJ of Harris and Biden or anyone else that, they didn't like and they wanted to cook up charges against. They celebrated when his home was raided for the very things that Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden did. And when his mugshot was posted online, they dreamed about a future locked up at Rikers Island or some other horrific jail, joking about blowing up the White House. Remember that? Or joking about, quote, assassination. Not a funny joke, not a funny comment. And some even expressing disappointment that his would-be assassins were not successful. They told all of you that Trump was evil, a threat to democracy. But on Tuesday, most Americans, but we're just a bunch of garbage, aren't we, didn't give a damn about the narrative, breathlessly pushed day in and day out by the state-run media mob. They went to the polls. They voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And that's why the legacy media is now completely powerless. The same with Hollywood, the same with celebrity endorsements. Few Americans care what Julia Roberts or George Clooney, the idiot that he is, think. They don't care what these late-night comics that aren't funny think. That means the 3 broadcast networks, the other cable news channels besides Fox, and after so many lies, so much bias, their credibility is shot. Nobody trusts them, and nobody should trust them ever again. Americans, instead, they have sought out alternative sources of information. Talk radio shows that they like, including mine. We are on 750 stations. The Fox News Channel. Thank God for all of you. We have to earn your trust every day. We don't assume that you're going to be here. We have to earn your trust by giving you news, information, opinion that you're not going to get anywhere else. Trusted opinion, opinion that will be proven to be true. We've got to earn your trust. And I'll speak for myself. Nobody in the media mob, state-run media mob, nobody showed you Kamala Harris in her own words and her radicalism and extremism more than I did. Why did I do that? Because people needed to be informed, and the state-run media mob, an extension of the Harris press office, was never going to show that to you. But that won't stop this media mob and these Hollywood and other self-important far-left losers from screaming into the void. It will continue and probably get louder and probably get worse. Take a look.
How are you doing? If you watch the show regularly, I'm guessing you're not doing great. Yeah, me neither.
I don't think that our beloved country, America, knows what it's in for with a fascistic society and dictator.
I'll snap out of it, but I'm in a very, very dark tunnel right now.
It may be that not enough people in this country yet believe in the full equality of women to elect a woman president of the United States.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep.
And
they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some less.
That's what that was.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her. I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was.
What will the future hold now that America has just decided that we're going to F around and find out?
Yeah, let's just call people irredeemable, deplorables, bitter Americans that cling to their God, guns, Bibles, and religion. Let's call them garbage, racist, fascist, Nazis, Stalin lovers, and then tell them they're stupid on top of everything else. Oh, and they're sexist and misogynistic and racist. These people are living in their little echo chamber, so closed off from where the rest of the country is, they have no idea how crazy they sound. Part of it makes me laugh. Part of it is really sad. At least Bette Midler deleted her X account after seemingly pledging to drink bleach if Donald Trump wins. I don't know Bette Midler. I don't really like Bette Midler that much. Bette Midler, it's going to be okay. You don't need the bleach. Take good care of yourself. Meanwhile, professors at Harvard, can you believe this? They canceled classes after the election because out of sheer grief, we have snowflakes all over the country. Others are coping with the loss of Joe Biden by the loss of Kamala Harris by throwing Biden under the bus, even though they're the ones that forced him out of the race and dismissing millions of voters that put him in place. You know, what was clearly a coup. Kamala got not one primary vote, and they just ignored the millions of people in their own party. Today, frankly, Joe Biden was all smiles, congratulated Donald Trump, invited him to the White House, thanked Harris for giving it her all. But so far, it doesn't appear that any of the major players inside the Democratic Party are willing or able to change in any meaningful way. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.